directly in front of us across the way, you can see one of the entrances to Bel Air. Take a close look at the gates as I go by here. You can see the gates, if they shut them, they'd never meet in the middle. They're completely phony gates. We can still drive in there if they shut the gates, see? Yeah, they're too short to meet in the middle.
Are we on? Okay, testing a new camera, guys. Weird. This is weird. I'm probably gonna look at this. It's all gonna be out of focus. Oh, she really does belong on a camera with less abilities. Very HD. So, Nova and I went to California a while ago. You will be aware of this. We did a tour when we were there. It was called the Tragical History Tour, and I forgot that I had a bunch of footage from this tour, and I bought a bunch of tats, and I'm just going to explain what it was and why you should probably go and do it if you are ever in California. This was the only tour that we did that wasn't part of like a theme park. I have wanted to do this since I was about 15 years old, so this is like a lifelong dream. I'm so sad. This is a tour. It's one of those Hollywood tours. You get in a car vehicle and you just like go around places, and there's some like dude on a microphone, and he'll say like, right there is a garbage can that was in Terminator. That's not even an example, sorry. So this is a tour called the Tragical History Tour, and it's run by a company called Dearly Departed. This one dude founded this whole thing. His name's Scott Michaels. I've been fascinated with this guy for a very long time. He runs a website called Find a Death. If you've never heard of it, I would strongly recommend visiting findadeath.com. It's super morbid, it sounds super morbid, but it's actually really interesting. It is a kind of catalogue, if you will, of a bunch of celebrities, famous people, and it kind of chronicles what they were doing in their life leading up to the day that they died, and like what they were doing on the day that they died, and everything surrounding kind of like their life. A lot of it is obviously really tragic because maybe they died in kind of like awful circumstances, and that's basically what this tour is about. So definitely go on findadeath.com. This is not sponsored by them, I just feel like people should know about it. There's a kind of twin one, Find a Grave, where there's like lists of like graves and stuff. I'm into like morbid shit. Okay, so basically this is the tour. So Dearly Departed is the company. They run this. It's at 5901 Santa Monica Boulevard. The tickets will cost you like $60, which I guess is, I don't know whether that's kind of like a lot, but we did it anyway. I said to Nova, like, I'll fucking pay for it because you're never going to want to do this shit. I've wanted to do this for so long. They do other tours. They do like a Marilyn Monroe one and a Helter Skelter Manson family one, which I imagine is way more bleak than this. We were kind of put in this cute minivan. It was way too air conditioned. It was freezing cold, but that's by the by. And we were taken around a bunch of different places, which had kind of like gross histories where people died, you know, where like kind of awful shit happened, some of it. God, it's so awful. The whole thing is created by Scott Michaels. But before we did the tour, he has a museum, so the Dearly Departed Museum, where you can go in and there's like props and stuff belonging to people who have passed away. They've got Jane Mansfield's death cart in there, which was horrifying to see, and there's like an old blood stain on the side of it. That was fascinating. Don't have any photos from that because they were quite strict on you not taking any photos. They have like a whole divine bit that he's like managed to get, and you can see a whole bunch of this on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel where you can see him like liberating things occasionally from like, he has like divines the hotel room like door where from the room that she died. They have weird shit in there. They have like Princess Diana stuff. There was a cigarette end that Jerry Halliwell threw out. I mean, that's not related, but it's still kind of like fucking weird. So we went and saw that to begin with when we were waiting for the tour to kick off. If you buy the tour, if you get a ticket to the tour, then you get to go into this museum for free, which is all in the same place. So when we kind of kicked off, I wasn't sure if Scott was going to do it or if he doesn't do them anymore. A lot of it was, this tour was recorded, he'd done it himself, and then it kind of like plays through the loudspeaker. So I was semi-heartbroken that Scott wasn't there, but it was this other dude who, I can't remember his name, but he was an actor at one point. I mean, if you're in Hollywood, I feel like a lot of people have stories like that. I think he maybe tried to do acting and it kind of went okay for him for a bit. So a lot of the locations that we would go past, he'd be like, oh, that was from this one movie. There was a sequel, I was in it, no big deal. And it was just kind of, there was an edge of like, oh, bitterness maybe. But that's fine. The lady who runs the museum as well was just so charming, couldn't get over it. I told her, she was like, so how did you guys find out about this? And I was just like, oh, I've been going to Scott's website since I was about 15. And she gave me this, if you've ever seen one of our videos, where the laptop is in it and you've seen this death hag sticker and wonder what the fuck that was. So he has these stickers and it's kind of like anything to do with his website. People that follow his website, he would call death hags. I guess people that are into like death and like grim stuff. So it says like Dearly Departed Tours, Hollywood, California. So that's what that's from. I thought it was so cute that she gave me that. Their YouTube is Dearly Departed Online. He has a bunch of interviews with really interesting people. The woman who was the lips for the Rocky Horror intro. He's done a great one with a relative of Joan Crawford. There is one which I think is fascinating, and it is an interview with a woman called Virginia Graham, who kind of was the snitch involved in the Manson case. So it's dearly departed online as their YouTube. But the tour itself was great. I thought there was going to be a kind of, because I've researched it so much, an element of like, oh, okay, I kind of know about that, but it was fascinating. They give you this book with like newspaper clippings in it, and like facts and figures, and like photos from whatever is happening around, like the crime that was committed, or if a person died or something. So that was a nice touch. Maybe that's like common. Is that like a really common thing? I haven't done any of these tours before, I don't know. I mean, I have nothing to compare them with. I've read some reviews, and apparently this one is like pretty good, because it's like, there's no, you know, buffoonery, there's no lying. You can do these Hollywood homes tours, and like, they never fucking lived anywhere near here. So I don't know if the book is like an extra part, or if that's like a real, you know, niche thing that this tour has, but that was great to have that there. So Scott narrates it, and the guy kind of like pitches in with his microphone with a few jokes about where we are, saying that he can't control traffic, and if someone like runs out in front of the van or whatever, which was like a bit cute. But anyway, we went to a bunch of really interesting places. The first place we went to that was particularly grim was we went to the former home of Rebecca Schaeffer, who was an actress. She was kind of very up and coming in the 80s, who had a stalker situation, and the guy ended up killing her on her doorstep. Again, everything that you can you know, see or hear about on the tour, you can also read about on findadeath.com.
Right here on your left.
A half a dozen people turned after hearing the shots, saw Rebecca laying in the doorway right there, and Bardo running between those two buildings into the alleyway.
Yeah, the alleyway where he ran to get his way is also right here on your left. This alleyway right here.
Nobody was going to stop the crazy guy with the gun, and you can't blame them either. And he got away. Until the next day. He was arrested in Tucson, Arizona for behaving erratically, blocking traffic. He was still wearing the same clothes.
So this was a pretty sad one to kind of like open up with, and it was weird because I wasn't sure if she was going to be on the tour, the home where she was murdered. Regardless, I had read all about her like the night before. I did like a whole bunch of binging and reading, and then when the dude was just like, I don't know what the name of the dude was, let's call him Paul. So Paul was like, yeah, so here's Rebecca Schaeffer's house. And I was just like, oh, this is not going to be a comfortable journey. It is quite grim, but it is fascinating. We went past Cedars-Sinai Hospital, and there's a recording of Scott listing off the number of people who have died at Cedars-Sinai. It's like the longest list ever. It went on for ages and ages, but I guess that was right there. It's in the, I don't know if it's like downtown LA. I mean, we went to a bunch of places. I can't remember where any of them were, but it's like right in the heart of this whole tour. It's a fucking massive hospital, but apparently like everyone's died there.
Cedars is the hospital to die in. Famous people who have checked in and out include Chuck Connors, Minnie Riperton, Sammy Kahn, Audra Lindley, Gracie Allen, Lucille Ball, Fanny Bryce.
We stopped off at there's two cemeteries on the tour. We stopped at Westwood Memorial Cemetery. That was the first one. The other one was Hollywood Forever, which is right at the end of the tour. You get off and that's it, finished. It's right across the street. You can just walk in there. But the Westwood Memorial one is particularly noted because it is where Marilyn Monroe is buried. Kind of gross, they buried Hugh Hefner right there. I don't really know what the deal was with that. I don't think people were very happy. Her stone is very discoloured because a lot of people kiss it with lipstick, and I feel like the people that run the cemetery are not very happy about it, but it's kind of got like a pinkish hue as a result, where they're always like cleaning it off. She has like a little bench there, and it was basically where everyone went to straight away. Everyone went and had like, it was a very respectful group actually. People were taking pictures. They weren't doing like stupid shit, so there was a very kind of like respectful mood about everyone. So they give you a guide for who's buried where. It's like a little map. There's some super famous people in here, so I think the first ones that you come up to, Truman Capote is there, Jackie Collins. I like what it said on Jackie Collins' stone. She gave a great deal of people a great deal of pleasure. I thought that was nice. Heather O'Rourke is buried there. She has a very, very sad story. She's the little girl from the Poltergeist movies, who, I mean, her story is quite tragic. She's buried there. You can read up about her. So Dean Martin is buried there, Burt Lancaster, Merv Griffin, FARRAH Fawcett. A lot of people wanted to try and find FARRAH Fawcett. Dominique Dunn, who I think she was also in Poltergeist. I think she was murdered actually. She was on the tour. Natalie Wood is buried there. BuzzFeed Unsolved did a really interesting episode on Natalie Wood. She died under really mysterious circumstances. She fell off a boat or was found in the sea. Kind of. It's a pretty. That's a mystery which I still think people don't really know about that. But there was also a part of the tour where we went past her house, I think.
The day after Thanksgiving, 1981, actress Natalie Wood and her husband Robert Wagner left the home behind that picket fence for a weekend in Catalina. Actor Christopher Walken, the co-star of Wood's last film, Brainstorm, joined them. On the night of November 28th, they had a boozy dinner on the island, then returned to the ship. Inside, Wagner and Walken started a, quote, non-violent argument, end quote, about the direction of Natalie's career. Natalie stormed off and the two men eventually calmed down. A couple of hours later, Wagner discovered that Natalie wasn't in bed. They looked for Wood, but she was nowhere to be found on the ship. It was agreed that outside, Natalie had tried to board the boat's dinghy and slipped and fell into the ocean. Intoxicated, she tried desperately to claw her way back into the small boat. Eventually, the down vest she was wearing filled with water, pulled her under, and she drowned.
What I found kind of, I don't know the word, touching, I guess, the most about going to the Westwood Memorial Cemetery is that there's a woman buried there. She's called Jennifer Syme. You don't know who she is because she was not very famous. There's an article about her on, or an article, or post, whatever, on Find a Death. There's something about her story which I always just found so sad. I didn't know she was buried there, but I read about her when I was like a teenager, and then I always just thought about her occasionally. I'll just click on it and read it again. She was married to Keanu Reeves. She was kind of like an assistant. She's like a PA. She was in the movie industry. She was in a couple of movies. I think she was in like a David Lynch movie. Was she in like Lost Highway? And she didn't do a whole bunch, but she was at a party with Marilyn Manson. She left the party. I'm pretty sure she was like wired and she was on all sorts, and returned like early hours in the morning, and her car just like flipped over on the road and she was killed instantly. And her and Keanu Reeves had a stillborn daughter who she's buried with. And I didn't know she was buried there. So when I just came across her grave, I was just like super taken back, because I read so much about this woman who there's like nothing written about her. I mean, she didn't really achieve much, I guess, which is a kind of a bleak way of, you know, remembering her. She doesn't have much of a legacy, but I just had to take a picture of her grave because I just thought that was, just wasn't expecting it. Someone that you've like read about and don't really know anything about, but anyway. There was this like Texan woman sitting in front of us, and fuck me, she didn't know everything in the world. Like, if someone tried to sort of like add a piece of like information, like an asshole, like when there was a break and everyone was like sitting there, and they'd be like, oh yeah, so like, oh, so you know, when this person died in like 78, she'd be like, 79, which is, oh yeah, you know everything, fucking hell. There was this bit in the middle where the dude on the microphone, I don't know, did I give him a name yet? Paul? I'd call him Paul? I don't know. Frederick, he was just like, he would play these TV show themes, and if she didn't get one of them right, it was like a little quiz. Well, fuck, she was so angry with herself if she didn't get them right. So that was great to have like right in front of you. That was an energy. She had a big dick energy. So we went to the property that Michael Jackson was renting when he died. That was one of the more momentous kind of moments, I guess. Kind of sidling up to the giant gates and the big like high bushes and walls and stuff, because you can't really see into this property, but knowing that that's where kind of like Michael Jackson checked out, who obviously is just like so otherworldly in some way, that was weird. That felt a bit strange.
Fire paramedic 33, what is your emergency? Sir, we have a gentleman here that needs help, and he's not breathing yet. He's not breathing, and we're trying to pump him, but he's not. Okay. Okay, how old is he? He's 50 years old, sir. 50. Okay. Alright, do you have him? Is he on the floor? Where's he at right now? He's on the bed, sir. He's on the bed. Okay, let's get him on the floor. Okay? Okay, let's get him down to the floor. I have to do a CPR right now, okay?
Well, when I first heard this 911 call, I was shocked to hear that a doctor was working on Michael while he was still in his bed. I mean, the first thing you learn when you learn CPR is you put him on a hard, flat surface. And I was shocked that a physician didn't know this. But anyways, Mom Catherine now does have his children. Debbie Rowe has visiting rights. And little did they realize when they were filming all the rehearsal footage for the film, this is it. This really was it. Coming up in just a moment, on the far left corner here, soon to be on your right, is the property that Michael Jackson was renting, 100 Carrollwood Drive, Holmby Hills. He was renting it for $100,000 a month. People hear that figure and they go, $100,000 a month? I thought he was poor again. Well, his being poor and our being poor are two completely different being poors. But this is the property right here. Now, in just a moment, the gates on the right here coming up are the gates. If you saw the news footage when Michael had died, these gates that are about to come on your right here are the gates the ambulance is coming out from to take him to Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. And unfortunately, he was long dead before he got into this ambulance. So all of this that you see right here, all of those pictures and those photos on that page, all that sits behind these hedges and gates here on your right. And here on the right are the gates the ambulance is coming out from. Michael is now buried here in LA, Glendale Forest Lawn. He's in the Great Mausoleum in Glendale Forest Lawn. The public has no access to that mausoleum.
There was a liquor store that we went past on the corner of some road, and it quite hilariously was a place that Halle Berry once crashed a car into it. There were newspaper clippings of this whole Halle Berry situation, and that she went back to the shop and like bought a load of wine from them or something. I mean, it was so ridiculous. Halle Berry like crashing into a liquor store.
Yeah, somebody tried to kill Chris Brown over here a little over 2 years ago now. They shot him 3 times and they missed, unfortunately.
Into a liquor store. We drove past the Viper Room, which was not the happiest of places. That was quite a sad moment. They played the 911 call that Joaquin Phoenix made from the phone booth, which we also went past, where my namesake River Phoenix overdosed. It used to be owned by Johnny Depp, the Viper Room. I don't know if it still is, but they played the 911 call, and that was pretty hard to listen to.
Now after I show you the whiskey on the left down here, coming up on the right is the Viper Room, formerly owned by Johnny Depp, sold this portion of about 15 years ago now. It's notoriously known for the death of a young actor by the name of River Phoenix. October 31st, 1993, River Phoenix started having convulsions on the sidewalk outside the Viper Room. His brother Joaquin Phoenix made a 911 call. I'm going to play the call right now. You'll see the phone he was using in the Viper Room, all right here on the right. Here's the phone, here's the call. There's the phone right there. And here's the Viper Room.
Okay, what's the address where you need it? It's Sunset and Liberty. It's at the Viper Room. Okay, what's the address, sir? You know? What's the address? Hey, sir, calm down a little bit, okay? I'm sorry, it's my brother. Please come here. How old is he? He's 23. 23? Hey, sir? Yes? Stay on the line with me and calm down a little bit, all right? Yeah, I'm calm, but he's okay. Calm down, okay? If you can't calm down, give the phone to somebody else. So there's no one else around. Okay. I'm fine. I think he's too head volume or something. I don't know.
And then we went past the Magic Castle as well. The Magic Castle, it's on a hill. It's like where magicians go, Penn and Teller. Like good magicians, you go there. You've got to be good to get in. I don't know what they do though, like magic and shit. I'd love to go inside though. I bet the decor is just disgusting, but you want to go and see what's inside it though. At one point, Frederick Paul, microphone man, was like, so we're now going to turn down to the street where Laurie Strode was babysitting in Halloween. I was just like, oh! Going down the road, it was literally like a film set. You couldn't have made this street up. It was just like so perfect, picket fences, and it was just the street they used in Halloween. I could not even believe it.
Let's go see where Jamie Lee Curtis was terrorized by Michael Myers in Halloween 1978. Go ahead. Across the street. Coming up on the right here is the home that she babysat that little boy Tommy in Halloween, and of course was terrorized by Michael Myers. There's the house right there. Now if you remember the film, across the street, these two houses over here on the left were also used in the film. The big green house with the white trim, and this house over here with the white pillars on the front porch. All used in Halloween 1978. Yeah, this is the 40th anniversary of Halloween, by the way. And keep an eye out, we are rolling out a new tour this season. It's our Halloween tribute to John Carpenter's Halloween 1978. It's a horror movie locations tour.
There is not a bit of Hollywood which isn't like from a movie or been used in a movie or something. So obviously the Halloween thing was amazing. We went past a hotel that was really close to where we were staying. We drove past our own hotel and we just thought, this is sweet, we can just like bail, and then like the hotel's right there, we can just like, we're great. But there was a hotel not far away. We had walked past this like the other day, and it was where they shot the balcony scene from Pretty Woman. We did a live stream about it, but just to think that that's where we didn't even know. We walked past that hotel several times and then it's right there, who knew? We went past an apartment where a former resident was actor Albert Decker, who you won't have heard of because he died how many years ago? Like half a century ago maybe. And he died from autoerotic asphyxiation. There is a great clip on YouTube, I don't know if it's still there. It was in one of the Dearly Departed documentary kind of bits that Scott Michaels produced. I bought these from the gift shop. They're great. He's like going around finding all these locations similar to what's in the Tragical History tour, and he's talking about where people died and kind of like grim things. What did it say? Some celebrities will haunt Hollywood forever. They're pretty great. I had to buy both of those because you can't watch them online, but there is a clip of him going to the apartment where Albert Dekker died, and he's telling the lady that lives there now. It's so funny. She's pretty cool about it. What happened like in her bathroom, so that's pretty good. I mean, I feel like everyone knows what autoerotic asphyxiation is. I won't go into that, but you know, the way he died was pretty unique.
On Sunday morning, May 5th, after unsuccessfully attempting to contact Dekker for 2 days, friends convinced the building manager to let them in. The apartment looked normal until they entered the bathroom. This is from the official police document. Dekker had been dead for several days. He was kneeling nude in the bathtub. He had 2 hypodermic needles stuck in his right buttock. A noose was around his neck, a scarf was tied over his eyes, and a horse's bit was in his mouth, fashioned from a rubber ball and a metal wire. It's believed that he was performing autoerotic asphyxiation, the act of pleasuring oneself while cutting off oxygen to the brain, thus increasing the intensity of orgasm. Obviously, it didn't go well.
So when the tour is over, you hop off and you can go into Hollywood Forever Cemetery. So in the gift shop, just before we went to Hollywood Forever, I also got this mug, which was like $20 because I am one. There was a peacock just outside this mausoleum in Hollywood Forever, which is just lovely. And I'll just, you can see that. There's a few famous people buried here. We got a map as well from a lady who worked in a little florist shop right at the front of the cemetery. She was miserable as fuck, but then you might be working in a cemetery, I don't know. The one person I wanted to go and see was Judy Garland. As a homosexual, I do have quite a strong adoration for Judy Garland. All of us do. I don't even know what that is. I guess because she suffered trials and tribulations. But she's buried there. She's in a gorgeous, huge, like marble mausoleum. She was moved, I think, not that long ago, so it's fairly new. And she has this lovely, and the lettering is so gorgeous. She has this this little gold and ruby like slippers hanging off of her name, which is just so pretty. You can buy like a little crypt or a little unit. I don't know what the word would be for it. If you want to have your like urn interred or ashes or something, so you can like have your final resting place in the same little mausoleum as Judy Garland, which is lovely. There were loads of like gays. There were just homos everywhere, like little photos of like old homos. It was so sweet. And that was kind of the end of the tour. Then we went and got like, what was the name of the place? We went and got hummus, like wraps and stuff from, what was the name of the place? Momas. That's not what it's called. And I would highly recommend doing this tour, basically. Go and see the museum. If you ever find yourself on Santa Monica Boulevard, I would go to see the museum because that's great and that's super cheap. Do a tour if you can. I don't think I would see the Helter Skelter one, might be a bit intense. I'd see the Marilyn one. Oh, we saw Marilyn, a place where Marilyn lived as well.
Building here with the low white brick wall, former home of Marilyn Monroe right there. The water fountain out front now. The real address is on the corner here, 882, not 822. As the book depicts. And then, as I pull up here, take a look to your right, and you will see around the corner where the car was sitting. Right here where that Audi is sitting right there, that's where the car was. You can, yeah, right there. So when I pull up, you can see the carports are there, they just have doors on them. That's, oh, matter of fact, you can see one of the carports right there. Yeah, so that's where the car was sitting right there.
And yes, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. I don't know why it's taken me so long. I forgot that I had this footage. I forgot that I went on this tour. It was great. Please find our social media in the description below. You know, subscribe if you've not done that already. What are you waiting for? If you want some extra shit, extra juicy content, become a patron. What do you think of this new camera situation? It's doing wonders for my double chin and all of the blemishes on my neck, which looked fine in the mirror, and I can see now in the viewfinder are not covered at all. So great. Alright, cheers then, bye.
On your left, coming up right here across the street, that little beige building with the red tile roof, official memorials, George Michael Restrooms, right there.
And a rooty tooty, fresh and fruity to our gorgeous patrons. If you'd like to become a patron, visit patreon.com/Novympia.